So,
Okay, Greene, Roshi, we're ready
it's
for the
rolling.
story about the
Yeah,
Inji.
yeah. Well, it's June 6th, 2020, and it is tumultuous times. Uh, but I'm sitting here outdoors in spring green, um, Columbine at my side. It's that time of year when it comes out. And I like telling stories. And what's come to mind, you know, watching news, hearing news these last few weeks, oh, so many cries for good leadership, so many wishes, no more than wishes, need, you know, show us the direction, show us which way to go, take us there, take us where we know is possible. And it's so heartfelt. But if you know anything about Zen, sometimes to get over here, we go here. And today I want to talk about being a follower rather than being a leader, to see what that tells us about leadership. And I don't know. I don't know. When I start exploring these things, I don't know what the goal. I can't see the goal. I can't see the end point. But I just know it's useful sometimes to explore the opposite of what's driving you, what's most concerning you. And I realized that to be a Zen follower, for you watching this, I invite you, when you hear that, what does that do to you? Uh, does it trigger sort of a reaction? Hell no, I'm no follower. You know, in Zen we forge our own way. We stand alone. We sit alone. Uh, Followers is for the weak. You know, but bear with me because there's an old Zen story, and I've got a good sized Zen library, and I know some point over the last 40 years I read this story, and I can't locate it, so I can't give you names, I can't give you a place. All I have is just sort of the event as I read and as I imagine it happening. So the first thing to understand is that there is a role in a formal Zen setting, whether it's a temple or however. There's a role in, the Japanese word is Inji, and it's an inadequate translation, but one that we use is to be an Inji is to be an attendant on one of the senior teachers. That you're there to assist in whatever way is needed. And it's considered to be a very significant role. It's sort of equivalent to being a tenzo, which is the temple cook, where you hold that much responsibility basically in your hands, the well-being of the teacher that everybody in that Zen setting is dependent on. So the story goes like this. Let's imagine countryside. It could be spring green, could be out in the woods, and the Zen master is out walking. And we don't know why he was out walking, whether it was to get to a particular place or just he was enjoying the air. Maybe without gathering mushrooms. I'd like to think of going out to gather mushrooms, help out the cook. And so, again, in this setting, the Inji is following closely behind. Maybe the path is narrow, whatever. They're not walking side by side. The Inji is behind. Steady walking pace, steady walking pace. Now, on their feet, they're wearing, Japanese slippers, and there's many different names for various kinds of Japanese slippers. But they're all based on having a flat sole, wooden, surface, and then there's a thong that comes up through the sole, and then from there's two straps that come to the back. And so when you put on one of these slippers, you sort of slide your foot in, and that upright thong part goes right between your big toe and then toe beside it. And that's sort of what sort of anchors you to the slipper. And then as you walk, your foot is flexible, the heel is flexible. So the strength of that thong is important for your walking. So they're walking along, and at a certain point, the thong on one of the Zen master's slippers breaks, rendering his slipper useless. But the Inji is so sharp, so attentive, so tuned in, that it's almost before it happens, he senses it happening. He reaches down, he takes off his own slipper. He goes ahead a little bit. He places it on the ground right where the Zen master is about to place his foot. Because the Zen master has not stopped walking. He's just, and just as he puts his foot down, there the Inji's slippers is, and he slides into it, and he just keeps walking as if nothing had happened. Yeah, as if nothing had happened. But think what it took for it to happen in a way that sounds so natural. Think of the Zen teacher had to not be disturbed. It's like, it broke, so what? I'm still walking. But it's the Inji. Any of us out walking, your mind wanders. There's oh look, the raspberries are in bloom. You can smell them before you see them, and there's the blossom. It's like, yeah, I'm coming back here for those berries. Or, you're remembering, how annoyed you were with the stupid monk who, misplaced something and delayed the start of the walking today. So that the thoughts are just firing off. Or you're imagining, the way these mushrooms are going to taste. They're probably going to be, kind of, maybe it'd be great if they were going to be like deep fried, a little bit of salt on top, a little bit of fresh crushed salt, and placed on a rice bowl. You're already tasting these mushrooms at dinner. Every one of those is a barrier. It's a filter to what's actually about to happen. So when you're thinking this, you're not going to hear that first little creak that suggests that thong's about to break. Or you're going to hear it and it's too late and it's like, oh, what do I do now? But just that ability to be so tuned in that it's just the most natural thing to do, to reach down, take off your slipper. You are so tuned into, you know precisely where your teacher's foot is about to land. So there's no awkwardness, there's no sense of achievement. It's just the most natural thing to do. That ability to be so wide open and attendant is like that's your target when you serve as an Inji. It's not like you have duties to perform. Your only duty is just to have every sense alive and awake and nothing interfering with it. And we get confused in Zen when we talk about not thinking. People think of Zen as like, most mortals, here we are sitting and thinking, oh, these Zen guys, they get any good and they're no longer thinking. It's not like that. It's more that your thinking is something you simply see through. The same way you could see through, hearing the temple bell back in the distance behind you. There's an awareness, but there's nothing that catches your mind to it. You don't attach to it and say, oh, I wonder what that's signaling. Or, I wonder what I should do with this thought. What's the thought that follows this thought? You simply see through it. So please don't think that this idea of no thought means absence of thought. It just means zero attachment to those thoughts. They're seen through. They're no different phenomena. Like right now, I've got gnats buzzing around my head. I could attach to them, and I could sort of try and identify what's going on, and what happens when they get in my ear, and how are they affecting Anita. You can wander where you wish, or you could just say, yeah, there's the gnats, and carry on. So nothing more really to say. That I find that this form of training to be an Inji with senses wide open, no attachment to thought, that's what I want in a leader. And a leader who thinks that they are leading because of how they're striding along on this path and majestically progressing to the mushroom patch. That's a false, useless image of what a leader is. So I'll leave it at this for now. See what you want to do with it. If you're going to be a good leader, learn how to follow.